Okay, hello and good morning. We're in week 4-3, and today is 4-8 for your bell work. Okay, for those of you who could not test online, you will have a hard copy this Friday. Please remind me on Thursday to print one up, but I'm going to put a little note right here. All right, let's take a look at these right here. I'm starting a new chapter in a few minutes, so let's see. Hard copy, Friday, test, in class. Okay, so that would be chapter 5 for MCR and chapter 7 for geometry. Okay? Well, let's take a look here. You have to factor these. So on this right here, you want to factor out what they have in common. Okay? So here, you're going to factor out a 2. And so here, when you take a 2 out of here, you're left with x squared minus 4. And this is the difference of 2 squares. So that's x plus 2, x minus 2, and then that 2 right there is part of your answer. So all of this, if you leave that 2 out, it's wrong. So make sure you don't do that. This one right here, negative and positive yields 2 negatives, so you're going to be adding to get that. So it's got to be 1 and 6. So this one you want 2 minuses. Check the outer, check the inner, you're done. All right, let's keep moving. All right, so the next thing is on a new sheet of paper, copy this down. Okay, the question is, when is this equation here, or this expression rather, when is it undefined? Well, it's undefined when x is equal to 0 down in the bottom. When your denominator is 0, it's undefined. Like 7 over 0 is undefined. So what we want to do is set the bottom equal to 0 and find out where they are. So what you're going to do is set it equal to 0. You're going to factor this. A plus and a minus is going to be a subtraction on that chart on the board. So that's going to be a 1. So that's going to be a 3 and a 4. We want the plus here and the minus here. Once you get your factors, these are 2 factors equal to 0, you're going to set each one equal to 0. Okay? So once you set your factors equal to 0, then all you do is work it out. So in this case, you're going to add 3, move it over here, so it becomes 3. You don't want it to equal 3. And this one is going to be a minus 4, so you don't want it to equal a minus 4. So these are the 2 exclusions. So you don't want x to be a 3 or a negative 4. Okay, that's all you do. You just set the bottom equal to 0, your denominator. All right, this right here, reduce or simplify. The book's going to say simplify, and simplify just means reduce, okay? So let's talk about that a minute. So when you reduce, you want to see what number goes into both of these. So here you want to divide by 2, so that's going to be 9 over 15. And I think you can divide by 3 now, okay, which meant you could have divided by 6, but I didn't see it. So 3 goes into 9 3 times, 3 goes into 15 5 times, so that is it, and that's equal to 0.6, I think, as a decimal. But there's your answer reduced. This one right here, you got to factor out an x squared, and then here you're going to get x plus 1. Well, 1 plus x is the same thing as x plus 1, so you can cancel that out. So your answer for number 4 is just x squared. So when you simplify, you have to factor and then reduce. Okay, let's take a look at these next 2. This right here, you have 7 goes into 14 2, 7 goes into 21 3. So you're going to be left with a 3 over 2 when you reduce it. Here you have 2 x's at the top and 1 x at the bottom. You have more at the top. You have 1 more at the top. 2 x's, 1 x, these cancel, and you're left with 1 at the top. Here you have more y's at the bottom. You have 1 more, so that's your answer. And that's how you reduce it. Really pretty simple. This one over here, though, you got to factor. A plus and a plus is going to be 2 pluses, so it's going to be 1 and 12, I think. In fact, I know. And then this is going to be x plus 12 and then x minus 12 because it's the difference of 2 squares. And then this cancels. So your final answer for number 5 will be x plus 1 over x minus 12. Now, if you can factor, obviously chapter 6 is going to be easy. If you can't, you still have to learn it. Go back to the videos. Take a look here. We're just about done. Here you're going to take out an x. So you're left with x and then x plus 3. And then down here you're going to take out a 3. So you're left with x plus 3. And then this cancels. So your answer for number 3 is just x divided by 3. Really pretty simple. This one right here, they're opposites. Watch. Put a star by this. This is a plus. This is a minus. Opposite. This is a minus. This is a plus. They're opposites. Whenever they're opposite, you factor out a negative. When you factor out a negative, it changes the x and it changes the y to exactly the same thing that's down here. The y is now positives and the x's are negatives, so you can cancel that out. So your answer is a -1. Make sure you know this little trick. Okay, if they're both opposites, you take a negative out of one of them, either the top or the bottom, not both. And then it changes it to be the same thing. Okay, make sure you know that. Here's your work for today. Some of these you're going to have to look back in the section for the word problems, the questions, so you're going to have to do that. All right, have a good morning. This is your first assignment for week 4-3. All right, let's talk now about geometry. All right, a couple of things. First of all, if you did not or you could not take the test online, I'm going to provide a hard copy on Friday. Today we're doing some work that's leading up to trigonometry. So you must have a calculator definitely this week that has sine, cosine, and tangent. It doesn't have to be a very fancy one. But if you look at mine, look at it. Sine, cosine, and tangent. You're going to need that, okay? All right, well, let's move on. This right here is Pythagorean's theorem, a squared, b squared, c squared. Remember the L, okay, the two that come together. This one and this one go together. So it's going to be x squared plus 4 squared is equal to 10 squared. You definitely need Pythagorean's theorem all year, and on this section you do as well. So you're going to subtract 16 and then take the square root. Okay, so let's try that. So 100 minus 16 and then shift and then square root. I get 9.2. Make sure you get 9.2. Reach in your bag and get your calculator, okay? This one right here is the distance formula for these 2 points. Now we've had this a bunch of times. Remember, your x's go here and your y's go here. So it's going to be a -6 minus a -2. So that's a double negative, so change it. This is going to be 8 minus a -4. A double negative, change it. So this is going to be a -4 squared. And this is going to be a 12 squared. So that's going to be 16, because a negative times a negative is a positive, plus 144. Let's see what that is. So on my calculator, I guess I can do this in my head. 56, I think it's 160. So 144 plus 16 equals 160, shift, square root. I get 12.6. Okay, if this number here was a 5, then I would make it 12.7. Okay, let's move on. Draw that triangle and put less than 8.1. Okay. They want to know the area. Well, this is a 90 here. This is a 45. So this one must be a 45 if you subtract from 180. And this is an isosceles triangle. So this is the same as this. So put 5 square root of 2 right there. Now the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. And basically put dots on this box, and one of them's your base, one's your height. In this case, they're the same thing. So put 5 square root of 2 times 5 square root of 2. So one's your base and one's your height, and it doesn't matter because they're the same. So you're going to eventually divide by 2. So put a 2 on the bottom. 5 times 5 is 25. 2 times 2 is 4, but the square root of 4 is 2. So you're going to get 2 times 25 is going to be 50 divided by 2. So the area is 25 square feet or square inches. It's area. Okay, copy that down, put a star by that. All right, let's move on. Now we're talking about special triangles. Copy this down. What you need to memorize is, for this one, you need to memorize 1, 2, 3, but the 3 is actually a square root. So on this one, you got to remember 1, 1, 2, but the 2 is actually the square root. Copy that down. Now, what you need to know is we're going to use proportions before we get to trigonometry, and these are the two special triangles. So you need to know, like on your calculator, which one's the biggest. Like some kids think the square root of 3 is bigger, but watch. The square root of 3 is 1.7. Okay, so the big one is here. So put big and small. This one is 1.4 if you do it on your calculator. So this one is actually the big one. And these are the same. Okay, so both of these are small. Okay, so you got to know which one's the big and which one's the small. You have to know that. Okay, now let me show you why. Let's say I give you a triangle, and I want you to draw this. And let's make this a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Let's make this one X. Let's put a 5 here, and let's put a Y here. Copy that down. All right, now here's how you work this. Now pay attention, okay? First of all, you cannot do Pythagorean's theorem because you only know one side. Okay, so here's how I want you to do it. Step 1, copy this down. Put circles or bubbles. Okay, and what I mean by that is this. Put a circle on each one of these. Not over the number or the letter, just off to the side. Okay, now you assign the biggest one, so the biggest number, the big number, goes across from the 90, from 90 degrees. Okay, so across from the 90, which is this one, go across, draw your arrow, that's the big side. So since it's a 30, 60, 90, the big one is a 2. So put a 2 up here. I'm going to use a different color. So the 2 will always go across from the 90. Okay? Now the 30 is the smallest because 60 is bigger. So across from the 30 will go the 1. Okay, so across, so number 3, across from 30 degrees will go 1. Okay, always. All right, so the only one left is the square root of 3. So the square root of 3 will always be across from the 60. Copy that down. Once you get that, you set up proportions. All right, now if you catch on and pay attention, it's going to be easy. Put the circles at the top. So put 2 over 5, 1 over x, and square root of 3 over y. You use this process whenever you see 30, 60, 90, or 45, 45, 90. Okay? So here you wouldn't use these two because they both have x and y. But here you would use this. This is actually your scale factor. So 2 times x is 2x, and 5 times 1 is 5. So you divide by 2, and you get 5 over 2. So x is 5 over 2. And then on this one, you want to use the 2 over 5 with the square root of 3 over y. You cross multiply. That gives you 2y equals 5 square root of 3. Now I'm going to give you one just like this. And by the way, you got to divide by 2. Okay? All right, so let me give you one just like this. And the first step really is, can you assign the numbers? All right, so right now, draw this triangle. And I'm going to switch it up on you a little bit just to see if you're paying attention. So I'm going to put the 30 over here and the 60 over here. So I'm going to say 7, x, and y. Okay, so I want you to put your circles. Okay, now it's a 30, 60, 90. What did I ask you to memorize for 30, 60, 90? Okay, 1, 2, square root of 3. And out of these, this is the big one. Okay? So put your pencil, put your numbers in here first. Let me let you do that. Where do the numbers go? Put them in there. All right, who can help me here? What goes across from the 90? It's the 2. Good. What goes across from the 30? The 1, because it's the smallest. And then the square root of 3 will always go across from the 60. Copy that down. All right, once you know where to put your numbers, then you write proportions. Put your circles on the top. And it doesn't matter which one you start with. So I'm going to start here. So 2 over y equals square root of 3 over 7 equals 1 over x. Copy that down. All right, now, this one right here, you have both numbers. So this is your scale factor. So put SF, scale factor. You're going to use that with both of these. So your first fraction is 2 over y equals square root of 3 over 7. And then this one is going to be the square root of 3 over 7 equals 1 over x. Now let's work these. So that's going to give you 14 is equal to y square root of 3. And then you're going to divide by the square root of 3. Now, you can't have the square root in a denominator, but I'll leave it like this for now. So that's your answer. This one, you get x times the square root of 3 equals 7. And then you divide by the square root of 3. And your answer is right here. Okay, so make sure you understand, number one, are you putting your numbers in the right place? That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, are you setting up your proportions right? Okay. Again, across from the 90 will always go the 2 on the hypotenuse because 2 is the biggest. All right, one more to try just like that. Draw this triangle, and again, I just want to see if you can figure it out. So put 5. X, Y. This one we're just going to set up so I can move on. Make this a 30, 60, 90. And what did I ask you to memorize for this? 1, 2, 3. Okay, but remember the 3 is the square root. All right, so put your circles and then put your numbers in there. All right, well, across from the 90, we'll go the 2. Now, if you have something different than 2, then you're not putting your numbers in the right spot. Across from the 30, we'll always go the small one, which is 1. And then across from the 60, we'll go the square root of 3. And remember, the circles go at the top. So it's going to be 1 over 5 equals square root of 3 over x equals 2 over y. Okay? Now, this one is your scale factor, SF. Okay? So that one you're going to use twice. So put 1 over 5 is equal to square root of 3 over x, and then 1 over 5 is equal to 2 over y. Now that I have my x and y set up, I cross multiply. So I get x equals 5 square root of 3. This one is going to be y equals 10. And those are your answers. And if you understood that, then pat yourself on the back because you're doing good. Okay, last one is a 45, 45, 90, which is an isosceles triangle. So draw this. Put 45, 45, 90. And you had to memorize 1, 1, 2, but it's actually the square root of 2. Okay, so let's put some x's and y's. So x, y, and 7. Now again, you cannot use Pythagorean's theorem because you only have one side. If you had two sides, then you could do Pythagorean's theorem. So put your circles. All right, the big one here is this, 1.4. Okay, you can try it on your calculator. So across from the 90 will always go the square root of 2. And then these will always be the same. So since these are the same, since this is 7, that's going to be 7. Okay, but let's say you don't know that. It's an isosceles triangle. Two sides are equal. Anyway, put your circles at the top. So square root of 2 over x equals 1 over y equals 1 over 7. This is your scale factor. So it works exactly the same way as the last one, but it's just different numbers. So you're going to use 1 over 7 twice because that's your scale factor. Then you're going to get the square root of 2 over x and then 1 over y. You cross multiply and you got your answers. Okay, so these are the two special triangles we're doing today in addition to Pythagorean's theorem. Your assignment for today is right here. Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to have on the bell work to see if you memorized the numbers. 30, 60, 90, 1, 2, square root of 3, etc. Okay, all right, good luck.